Yes, welcome back to How Did I Get Here? And today on the show, the isn't just one person. We're talking to a whole band today. Today I'm chatting to a massive and one of the most exciting bands on the Oz music scene right now. Ash from Dulcie joins me on the show today. Ash, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We'll jump right into the start of Dulcie. How did you all meet?
Sass and Meeks grew up together in Denmark and moved up to Perth in 2018. Or no, maybe it was 2017. Yeah, and then we all met at WAPA together. So we all did a music artist course there for a year and decided just to start playing gigs, and guess one thing led to another and we're still playing music. So yeah, it's been really fun.
It was pretty interesting, meeting as students. How would you describe yourselves as students?
I think that when we all first met, it was just like instant connection because our whole year group was kind of pretty fresh out of school, and it was just meeting so many like-minded people who were into songwriting and music. So it was just, super, super easy friendships to make at the very beginning. So it was lots of fun being classes together.
Of course, here at Student Ed, we love to hear about people's student lives. Do you have a favourite school subject that you did while you were a student?
Oh, I did drama. I did a lot of the kind of art subjects in school. I never did music in school. I was really into like choir and stuff. I was the choir kid, but I loved drama in school. I did that for like year 12, year 11 and 12 ATAR. But yeah, I think that I've always been drawn to the kind of creative subjects.
And as the other side of the coin, did you have a least favourite?
Oh, I tried to do human bio and I did not get very far in that. There was too many things to remember.
Absolutely. So for you, when did music first enter your life? You mentioned you didn't do it at school. When did you first start exploring the world of music?
Well, my mum had a big part to play in it from the beginning because I was raised in a country town up north called Dampier, and there was not that many music teachers there. So my mum started teaching simply music, which is kind of like a playing bass method of piano. So she taught my sister and I and started teaching in the town. And then, I don't know, I've just always been into like the school productions, or my primary school was always doing like plays or like Dampier Idol, where everyone would get up and do like a little show. And so I feel like I've always loved it and have just been brought up in a very encouraging environment for that kind of thing. So yeah, I've always been drawn to it.
Yeah. For you as a young person, what role did it play, especially in your education and your upbringing?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely helped like build confidence, like when you're young and you're putting yourself out there and playing in front of people, and especially when it's such a welcoming space, it's just a really positive kind of introduction to music. And I feel like I've had that through my whole school experience, and going to WAPA, it's always been really encouraging, and it's just been so fun.
Now, of course, you mentioned there that you grew up in Dampier. The other two members of your band grew up down south in Denmark.
Yeah.
What do you think that regional upbringing, how does that change you? How does that mould you now as a musician?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I'm so grateful to have been brought up in the country. I had a really great childhood, and I feel like Sass and Meeks had a very similar childhood in a country town as well. And I think when you have such like a tight-knit community, you kind of have that kind of family vibe to your town that people are really encouraging. And so, I don't know, I feel like it just helps you to get your foot in the door, or to have that courage to pursue it. And I don't know if that really answers your question.
That works perfect. Moving on from a bit of your early life now to the kind of beginnings of Dulcie, where did the name come from?
Well, the name Dulcie is my great-grandma's name, and it was like around the time that we started the band, we were throwing around all these names for bands, like Band Generator, like they were all so bad. And then I was talking to my mum, and she was telling me about my great-grandma, whose name is Dulcie, and she used to be a singer, and I didn't realise that there were any other singers in the family, and I really loved that name. I was like, haven't heard that name Dulcie in ages, and it just kind of stuck with me. So I put it forward to the girls as a band name, and everyone just liked it, and we just stuck with it, I guess.
It's always hard picking a band name. You got to match it to your genre and your sound. How do you describe your sound as a band?
Pardon?
How would you describe your sound as a band?
I would describe our sound as harmonious. And actually, we looked up Dulcie, what it means, and the meaning of the name Dulcie came up. One of the things came up as sweet sounding harmony, and I was like, that's perfectly fitting for us being a 3-piece kind of vocal group. So yeah, I would say kind of indie pop with harmonies and quite melodic, and yeah.
When you're first starting out, is there any musical influences or heroes that you're trying to kind of aspire to there?
Oh, I definitely had like a handful that really inspired me. One being an artist called Odette, who is a Sydney-based singer-songwriter who just like inspired me so much kind of when I was out of school, like first going to gigs and stuff like that. And also an artist called Morgan Bain, who's known as Eli Green Eyes now, but he was one of the first gigs I ever went to out of like being freshly 18, going to a gig, and I saw him play, and his songwriting was so incredible, and I was just like, wow, I would love to do that. And I feel like that kind of, there's like a few key artists like Maggie Rogers, and nowadays it's kind of like Holly Humberstone and Olivia Rodrigo, and then we all have different artists that we love, and then it all kind of just blends into the one sound.
So, starting out, you're a band at Whopper, you're a student band, you're young. It's so hard to break into the music scene, especially in Australia where there's so much going on. What was that that first year of Dulcie like?
The first year of Dulcie was pretty crazy. Our first ever gig was this really random gig in Kwinana for a youth awards, and that was our first gig. So we kind of booked it in, got it through a friend of a friend, and then we worked really hard for that. And then not long after, a band called Great Gable, who are all friends of ours, they hadn't even heard our music, and they were like, you guys can support us. And we were like, oh my gosh, Great Gable, this is crazy. So then, yeah, we just worked really hard and wrote heaps of songs and practiced heaps, which was pretty easy at the time because we're all at Whopper with lots of free time to rehearse there. And then I guess once we booked in those first few gigs, it kind of just got our foot in the door, and we really tried to make heaps of friendships through the music scene and connections. And I guess, it just kind of snowballed from there. And I think in the first year we were playing like 2 to 3 gigs a week at least for a while. It was just crazy, but lots of good times.
I always love hearing that first gig story from musicians. Everyone's got a completely different, completely crazy story. What was it like, stepping out on stage as the first time as Dulcie at that Youth Awards in Kwinana?
Oh my goodness, it was so random. Like, just the crowd, it was like a seated audience crowd, and everybody that was there, it was almost like grandparents and parents of the kids getting the awards, and we were kind of cornered into the corner of the stage, like didn't really have proper sound, but it was just a pretty funny time. But no, it was good. I feel like it gave us, like, we can do this. We played one show now, and it was a lovely event. So I'm very grateful to have been able to play it.
Did you learn anything from that first gig? Did you make any changes afterwards?
Oh, like, I feel like if I watch the videos back from that gig, it would just be so different to now. But I think you're always learning. Like, every gig you do, you're always going to take something from it or change something or see what works and see what doesn't. But yeah, definitely our first gig I think our first gig that we played that wasn't like that was at Mojo's, and that was like a whole different vibe because it was kind of like, a music venue, and yeah, it was awesome. You just kind of get that buzz for it, and you're like, oh, I could do this all the time.
For anyone listening who doesn't know, Mojo's is that place in Fremantle here in WA that is kind of that iconic music venue. Is there a venue that you've played that really sticks out for you?
In Perth, definitely Mojo's is, a bit of an institution here. And then, like, I don't know, we always used to play Indie Bar or The Bird, Mojo's, the Rosemount. But probably one of our craziest gigs that I just still can't believe we got to play was with Ocean Alley at the Melbourne Arena. That was just the craziest show ever. I never would have ever thought that we'd get to Melbourne Arena from starting the band. So that was really cool.
Speaking of that, over the years, you've done some massive tours, as you know, you've done headline tours, but also as a supporting act. I remember the first time I ever saw you guys was supporting G Flip at Metros, I think way back in 2019. Yeah, yeah.
No
So do you
way.
have like a favourite act that you? I know it's got to be so hard to pick a favourite act that you supported and got to play alongside.
Oh my goodness, we've been so lucky. I feel like every tour we've done has been such a good time, but I feel like one of my favourite tours was supporting the band King Stingray with Jess Day.
Yeah.
Which was that was our most recent tour, so it was kind of like post-COVID times, and everyone really got to know each other. And the other band, Jess Day, who was on tour as well, are like icons of ours. Like we've loved Jess Day for so long, so it was just so nice to get to know everyone. I feel like we laughed so much on that tour.
You make a good point there, you know, getting to be alongside icons, like a huge name like Ocean Alley and King Stingray. What's it actually like touring and getting to perform, and also the behind-the-scenes stuff with these huge bands?
Oh, it's so good. I feel like Ocean Alley and King Stingray is so lovely. They just really made us feel welcome and really looked out for us, which was so lovely. Just such down-to-earth people as well. So I feel like, it's just such a bonus being able to play the shows, but it's even more of a bonus doing it with amazing people. You just think just so well deserving of their success, just such incredible artists. So we're very, very lucky.
Looking to the future, do you have a band or a music act that is your dream support or your dream collab?
Oh, so many. I actually went to Harry Styles last night.
Did you?
It was crazy. I just thought, imagine supporting Harry Styles. I think I would just die and then come back to life and then die again.
There,
But I don't know. We'd all love to support Holly Humberstone, Olivia Rodrigo, Lewis Capaldi. He's coming to Australia. There's so many amazing artists coming into Australia now, so it's awesome. Dream big.
You know, aside from those kinds of shows, you've also played some pretty big festivals over the years. You've done some pretty amazing things. Do you have like a career highlight, you know, something that you just did and you had to sit back and think, wow?
Oh, definitely playing the festivals. Like when we got to play Laneway a few years ago, that was a massive highlight. Just one of those things that you just can't believe you got to do it. So, I think that was a massive highlight for us. The Ocean Alley tour, that was just playing stages that were so cool. I don't know. It's pretty hard to choose a highlight.
Well, a few weeks ago on the show, we got the chance to chat to Siobhan Cochin, who's another artist
I love
WA.
Siobhan.
She just played at Laneway as the Unearthed feature, and she mentioned, you know, how nerve-wracking it was with going on such Laneway is such a massive festival in Australia. Do you share that experience?
Oh, yeah, I get so nervous. Every show we play, even if it's a small show, like I feel like it started on Ocean Alley. I never used to get that nervous, but I think because those stages were so big and we hadn't played gigs for a while, I just started getting the worst anxiety before we played shows. And then it's like when you actually start singing and performing, it goes away, but it's just the waiting before. And I definitely relate with Siobhan, but she killed it. We were all at Laneway.
Oh, nice.
She's so amazing, and her drummer is now our session drummer as well.
Ah,
connections.
Everything's connected in Perth.
Yeah,
the latest track that you put out, Test Drive, it's a great track. You know, go listen to it if you haven't already. Could you talk us through this one?
Yeah, so this one started as an idea that Sass brought to the band. And we all were instantly like absolutely loved it. It's kind of about feeling misled in a relationship or like used almost. And I guess it's quite upbeat, summery kind of track. And so we took it to a producer called Joel Quartermain, and he helped us workshop it a bit. And then we worked on it some more with Constantine Kirsting, which was just such a good experience.
Now, that's Joel Quartermain from Eskimo Joe, isn't it?
That is it, yes.
Yeah. What was working with a big name like that like?
Oh, so good. We've worked with Joel on most of our tracks, actually. So,
right, yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's just got the best ear for a hook or to, you know, just make the song really catchy. He's got the best pop ear. So, yeah, he's awesome.
Now, you mentioned with test drive that has brought that one to you guys. Is that always how it works? Do you guys have a specific process, or is it, does it change with each track?
I feel like it changes quite a lot between track to track, but usually it will start with somebody bringing in a pretty fully formed idea, whether it's like the whole song or the chorus or a riff or something like that. And then we'll all work on it together as a band just to kind of refine it. And then it gets even more refined when it comes to producing it. And so it kind of just goes through a few levels of refinement, I guess.
How long does that process usually take?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes it can be really quick in the songwriting aspect. Like we could be working on a song and it will just come super fast, but then other times you're just sitting on the idea for a few months, or maybe it's in the vault for like a year and you revisit it and work on it again. But I guess from the time that a song is written to a time that it comes out can generally be quite a long time. If you've got like a song that's been added to rotation, then you kind of wait till that's finished up and then you can put out another one, so you might have songs in the bank for a while. But it kind of changes from song to song, I find.
So looking to the future a bit, what's next for Dulcie?
Ooh, I feel like definitely more music. We're in the process of trying to record a bit of an acoustic EP and put out a few like kind of B-side tracks which show a different side to us with more of the harmonies and acoustic style that we do. And then, a few more singles. We're planning to tour over East, probably the middle of the year, which is going to be here any day now. It's already February. So just more touring and more music, and hopefully more opportunities that will come our way that we're not yet aware of. So just putting it out there.
And in your wildest dreams, what's success look like for the band? Is there a holy grail, something that you would chase forever?
Oh, well, I feel like we're all just super, super stoked with how far we've come. Like, it's been amazing, such an amazing journey. But I think that for us to get to a point where we can focus solely on music as our career, and at the moment we all have other jobs and stuff like that, which can kind of be a distraction, I guess, from just pursuing music. But to get to a point where we could tour overseas or support ourselves through the band, and that would just be the next level, I guess. But I don't know.
You make a good point there. Having music as a career can be super tough. Especially look at the last few years and how that's so tough on live artists. How is that process? What's that process been like for you, actually trying to make music your full professional career?
Oh, it can have its challenges for sure. Yeah, I think because we don't rely on the band for any, for support in our own lives, I guess. It's definitely a labor of love. Like, we do it because we're so passionate about it. But through COVID, it was pretty tricky because things are just getting postponed constantly and it's just like always in anticipation of something. But no, I think that when you love something, it's easy to make time for it. So I think we'll always be pursuing that and hoping for the best. And I guess any success that comes is just an added bonus. We've all got jobs that we don't mind doing and lives outside of the band that keep us going. So I guess just got to stick to the positives and just try write out the negatives. When you get into that like bad headspace or something like that, you just got to think of all the reasons why you started in the first place.
Of course. So you're a few years into the Dulcie journey now. I think it's about 5 odd years. Any reflections you have? Anything you might have done differently?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I've learnt so much from being in the band. Like, I think that being at Whopper was amazing. It really set us up. But then we actually start doing music for yourself and gigging and getting into the scene. You just learn so much about kind of all the other things that come along, like the business side of things and everything. But I think that the most important thing is just to like back yourself and just to put yourself out there, try not to be too much of a perfectionist, and just put out your music and hope that it connects with people and just enjoy every moment that you have, because I feel like in 50 years' time, I'll look back on these years and like think they are some of the best years of my life. So just, taking it all in.
Of course. Now, you might have actually just answered my next question there. The final question, something we do ask everyone here on the show. 15-year-old self is sitting right in front of you. What advice are you going to give them?
Oh, what advice do I give my 15-year-old self? I feel like 15-year-olds these days are super cool. Like my 15-year-old self was definitely not like the TikTokers we see these days. I would just say to just be yourself, be authentic to you. And, I feel like when I was 15, I was still like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do outside of school. After I finished school, you have all these other pressures on you. And I don't know, I think just being true to what your passions are and giving it a go, not caring what people think, is probably just the most important thing.
Can't say it any better than that. That just about wraps us up here for How Did I Get Here Today. Before I do let you go, Ash, where can we find you and Dulcie?
You can find us at dulcie.music on Instagram, and then just Dulcie on Spotify and all those kinds of things.
And is there any upcoming shows that we need to be aware about?
Oh, there is, but I don't think they've been announced yet. So keep an eye on the socials.
Watch this space.
Watch this space.
That wraps it up for How Did I Get Here Today. You can find us, student_edge on Instagram, Student Edge, one word on TikTok, search us up Student Edge, or How Did I Get Here on YouTube, and head to studentedge.org for all our articles, podcasts, deals, competitions, career tips, education advice, and much, much more. Ash, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.